Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Propagandacast with me, ImperialDane. Today I have for you a 1 versus 1 on Semois. Semois indeed. Semois-tastic, Semois wonderful. Well, not really that, but that's for someone else to decide. In the meanwhile, of course, we'll be having a 1 versus 1 on the lovely Semois spread out, and of course those sort of 3 sectors here. Home sectors, and of course the sort of fight sector right in the middle of everything. Victory points are there, high munitions points are there, fuel points right next to the base, of course also keen targets of harassments. And who shall we be seeing fighting in the southern corner? It shall be Sweed. I do believe he was level 12 or 13 Panzer Elite commander of the 10th SS Hohenstaufen, named after a dynasty, I believe. Or was that the Frundsberg? Oh, damn. Always mess those two up. Bit of an odd thing. In the northern corner, it shall be me, ImperialDane of the 7th Armoured Division, Desert Rats. Chip, cheerio and all that, ready to show the Hun what for. And in fact, let's get right to it. Reconnaissance section, Lieutenant on the way. Nothing unusual there. It's a good start, at least in my opinion. Of course, some might disagree. Some might go for Bren carry on. Some might go for another infantry section. That's all their decision. Going straight for the fuel point, of course, that's a good tactic right here on Semois. In fact, a strategy, if you might even be so bold. And then, of course, move the truck right here. Keep it within range of the Villiers machine gun emplacement, and in fact, you have a pretty good position. And, of course, a fuel point which cannot be harassed, which, of course, is always a bonus. Kettenkraut moving towards its own fuel point. Panzergrenadiers marching out. 10th SS chaps dashing outwards. Part of the 2nd SS Panzer Corps, which actually had some SS troops in it. I believe the first one had a little less of that. But let's not digress too much. But nonetheless, the 2nd SS Panzer Corps also had the interesting distinction of actually being trained in anti-paratrooper tactics and strategies, which, while not really helping much in Normandy, actually came to a great help during Operation Market Garden, where the 9th and 10th SS were able to react rather swiftly to the situation, of course do what was needed, which is counterattack immediately, since the paratroopers are at their weakest just when they've dropped. Fun fact right there, and that certainly helped to the defeat of the airborne at Arnhem and other places. Always fun to know such bits. The 9th and 10th SS also being the only SS units right there, since they were the only ones that were still hanging about there, and in fact one was to be refitted there while the other ones were to pull back towards Germany for refitting. Lieutenant securing right here, moving about in slightly more roundabout manner. Kettenkraut continuing heavily in the east, while Panzergrenadiers are marching towards the west. Some with Gewehr 43s, the German semi-automatic rifle. SS troops, though, on the eastern front were known to grab the Soviet SVT semi-automatic rifle, and also pretty much any other Soviet automatic or semi-automatic weapon to basically increase their firepower as much as possible. They were rather gun-heavy chaps. And 2nd Infantry Section ready to move out. Bren carrier on the way. I rather like the Bren carrier myself. It's a nice mobile with the Villiers machine gun. It comes right. Really nice mobile platform, able to deal with a lot of things, able to really deliver a lot of firepower to an enemy flank. And of course also quite capable of suppression, so all in all a good weapon. Reconnaissance section doing a bit of dancing with Panzergrenadiers, although we'll probably have to pull back here as they are outside a house and are getting surrounded. This is not a good position, in fact, so they will go retreating while the other chaps are moving towards here. Kettenkraut might run into a lieutenant. There we go. Lieutenant Sten opening up with his Sten gun, blasting away. Not hitting a bloody thing at all. Might want to do some marksmanship courses. Bren carrier moving in to support the rest while the reconnaissance section makes a run home. Bit of enforcement there. Might call in a field support truck soon. Moving towards here. Bren carrier still marking about. Villiers machine gun on the way. Villiers machine gun from World War I had the distinction of being a weapon you could actually use to brew tea on, fire away a good strip, and then use the water, since it was water cooled afterwards, to brew tea. That's what the British did during World War I, and I'd be surprised if they didn't do it in World War II as well. Those Brits love their tea. Panzergrenadiers converging on the center. Looks like, oh dear, a Kampfgruppe company is up. That shall be interesting to note. Panzergrenadiers advancing towards the center, converging indeed. Some chaps setting up in the church. ready to let their 43 sings by Darnite, but no, that will be these chaps setting up right here. Bren carrier still marking about, not wanting to get too close into a nasty close quarter situation, of course, and an infantry half-track going out, like the Schützen Panzerwagen, made by the D-Mark company. Rather nice vehicle if used properly. I have seen some use it as a sort of armored car. Don't use it that, use it as an infantry support vehicle, and you'll be doing marvelously. Recon section coming under fire, pulling back towards some heavy cover, hoping to draw in the infantry half-track and do some damage. It is slightly armored. And Bren carrier charging in through the center as well, hoping to catch the infantry half-track from behind with a good armor-piercing barrage. There we go. Or no, apparently not. Not too much like that. In fact, forcing it to move onwards. And what is this? Another infantry section out, actually. And no field support trucks so far. But then again, I might be feeling bold because I've seen an infantry half-track. Meaning, of course, he's not the sort of chap to instantly go for an armored car, which is actually quite nice to see. Infantry chaps moving towards here. Panzergrenadiers awfully close. Recon section hanging out by the Bren carrier, moving out in unison. Panzergrenadiers marching towards the infantry half-track, joining in. Panzergrenadiers under heavy fire. Bren carrier blasting away. Infantry half-track making a getaway, and Kettenkrad sneaking by on the rear. And there we go, lots of fire on that infantry half-track. No upgrades so far, and we are seeing a Panzergrenadier upgraded. The Bren carrier is hit, damaged engine. Get out of there, Mr. Bren carrier. You were not meant to survive Panzergrenadier shots. And my goodness, that was incredibly lucky, missing. Panzergrenadier is now charging in as well, wanting to really put an end to that nasty Bren carrier and its Vickers. Panzergrenadier hits the church walls, my goodness, the cemetery walls. But the Bren carrier, the little Bren carrier, couldn't make it out of there. And the meanwhile, British chaps are moving about in the south as well. Cover, though, being blown away by those nasty Panzerschreckers inside the church. Panzerschreck, the voice of God? No, probably not, but it's certainly got quite an effect when it hits. If it hits, recon section troops getting into the house, hoping for a bit more protection. And we might see some movement from the south. There we go. Engaging this infantry half-track, although taking quite a bit of fire. Lieutenant is nearby. Infantry half-track pulling out. We are seeing a Panzer support command up. Field support truck arriving there. Good show. Engine in from the south, although getting suppressed. That's not good. Chaps inside the church are getting slowly worn down. Moving towards the church from the north as well. And these Panzergrenadiers are really looking awful. There we go. Retreating them, although could be lost. Oh dear, Panzergrenadier team is lost. That was too slow in getting them out of there. But the southern chaps aren't getting heavily suppressed. They might want to consider moving those blokes out of the way, or at least stupid fellow ImperialDane might want to. Keeping up the fire in the north. Panzerschreckers not looking good. Panzerjägers, and there we go. Bren carrier joining in once more at a safe distance. Tank busters taking one more loss, although pulling back towards the infantry half-track for reinforcement, although they might want to consider repairing that infantry half-track at least a bit. Taking the center, Kettenkrad sneaking in from the south. Sappers on the way, and a captain. That will probably mean a Stuart light tank afterwards, although I'm sure something will be coming out of this Panzer Support Command, or no, instead it shall be the Kampfgruppe Company. British troops pulling out of there, holding these Panzergrenadiers occupied as they can, though. Awfully low and helpful, want to get out of there very soon. Panzerschrecks flying through the air and hitting the cobblestone ground. Point secured, and the other ones are leaving as their delaying action has succeeded. Bren carrier moving in from the south, hoping to deliver some lead into the rear of that Kettenkrad. And I do believe we have a doctrine. In fact, it is. Let's just pause. In fact, tank hunter again. Repair equipment means, and this is the sort of repair equipment sort of thing, means Panzer Jäger doctrine, a tank destroyer, tank hunter. So keep that in mind. Had it been camouflage, Luftwaffe, had it been some demolition charges, that would mean scorched earth. And returning to the fight. Getting reinforced at the headquarters command truck, looking good. Sappers moving forwards. And these chaps are holding out there. And what do we see? A mortar half-track ready to bombard my positions. That's actually a pretty good move there. Will certainly make it much harder for me to hold the center. Sappers moving onwards. Officer ready, and now the Steward is on the way. Kettenkraut sneaking through in the north. Sneaky little devil. Mortar ready, and looks like the infantry half-track moving forward, having been fully repaired, ready to spot perhaps. Panzergrenadiers moving from the south, ignoring the cover. That's good, though you want to be careful about moving too close. It can be damaged. Brenker moving in. Infantry half-track not looking too good. Mortar half-track not doing anything as of yet. Brenker moving up close for the kill. Armor-piercing rounds blasting away through the thin armor. Panzergrenadiers getting into the church once more. Brenker wants to get out of there before another Panzergrenadier gets it. Oh dear, there we go. And a Tommy is down as well. A bloke was lost. Holding the line here. More Panzergrenadier troops moving forwards. Mortar rounds also beginning to land. This is getting hot for the Brenker. It needs to get out of there. So might all of those infantry sections also want to consider. And another Panzergrenadier just narrowly misses the Brenker. This is not looking good. Mortar rounds falling. And there we go. Getting out of there. Evacuating the center. Pulling out of there before all is lost with the mortar rounds. And of course all those nasty Panzergrenadiers. Kettenkraut sneaking about in the north. Steward light tank is ready. Opening up. Mortar rounds hitting its own. Friendly fire. It's not. Well, then again, what would be proper friendly fire? Would it tickle you, heal you? Not sure. But Sappers moving in now, ready to support the Steward light tank. Though getting hit by Panzergrenadiers, and apparently the church has been turned into a forward barracks. Infantry half-track moving in. And the Steward might want to get out of there. Sappers opening up. Mortar rounds falling on the Steward. Armored command truck on the way. Brenker pulled away. And infantry section coming under heavy fire. I believe it's time actually to switch to our Flint Swedes. Not sure what's going on with my cursor though. But there we go. Center secure for the 10th SS and the north as well. Steward doing a bit of work here, getting repaired. Panzergrenadier troops moving in. Opening up. Mortar rounds. Oh dear, clearing out the entire Sapper team. That was an excellent shot right there, of course. Troops that are repairing and such are easier targets for anything that also involves mortars. So there you go. Be careful with that. I learned it the hard way. So hopefully you'll learn from it. Steward continuing to take fire, not looking good. But moving forwards in the north, not to be deterred. The captain joining in for a bit of fun. And there we go. Armored command truck. Very big, very slow. Not awfully armored though. But we'll be able to get some on the field. Still nothing from the Panzer Support Command. Kettenkraut getting repaired. Also note the Kettenkraut can repair itself when in Tank Hunter doctrinal mode. More half-tracks being sent in. Now an anti-tank half-track joining in. Ready with its 37mm anti-tank gun, also known as the door knocker, due to the presence that by this stage of the war it would basically only be presenting itself as a target rather than actually doing any damage. And what is this? Mortar pit going up, ready to keep the center under pressure, allowing for any advances. Fresh sappers also arriving. Armored command truck is up. And moving towards around the central German position. Good job there. Brenkers and Steward opening up on some Panzergrenadiers. Securing the other victory point. Kettenkraut moving in from the south though. And Steward moving in to put a stop to that silly business. Counter-attack against the northern position. Lieutenant gets out of there. Infantry section holds out though, at least for a bit, to occupy the Panzergrenadiers. One infantry section member is down, another is down. That's going to be rather quick, and there we go, retreating. Hurrah! Securing the southern area, once more connecting this, and of course the munitions point. Will there be anything coming out of the armored command truck? Apparently not. But the mortars shall be bombarding the center, perhaps hoping to get those equipped Panzergrenadiers in the center, or perhaps those chaps. In fact, looks more like that. And there we go. One slowly falls out of the window on his head. Probably dead. Fresh assault moving in. Bren carrier, they're awfully damaged, not repaired. Get out of there, Bren carrier. Don't listen to that silly Dane. There we go. Moving in from the south as well. Sappers and the Steward. Attacking from multiple directions. Of course, noticing now there's a light anti-tank half-track. I don't want to play with that. At least not for now. Engaging the Panzergrenadiers, engaging everything. In fact, mortar rounds continue to fall. Looks like the tank busters have pulled out of there towards the church for reinforcements. Of course, he also has defensive operations with allowing him to fuel, making this a very tough spot. Unless, of course, I can keep it under sufficient pressure, in which case it might actually turn out to be a drain for him in resources. And mortar rounds now beginning to land amongst my own troops, killing a few, in fact forcing a retreat rather quickly. More losses to mortar rounds. This is not good. Captain still holding out in the north. A very brave captain that is. Mortar rounds landing though amongst the Panzergrenadiers as well. Small blessing there, but not hitting. Mortar half-track gaining a bit of veterancy. More Panzergrenadiers arriving on the field. In fact, he has 6 teams of Panzergrenadiers. That's an awful lot. Kettenkrad still sneaking about, stealing territory. That dastardly Kettenkrad. Damn you. Damn you and your Kettish ways. Although looks like more mortar rounds are hitting here. More Panzer tracks, in fact, being equipped. Rather expecting some heavy armored assault, perhaps. And of course, Panzer tracks are quite nice in these sort of urban environments, when there's not a lot of territory or move area for any armor to maneuver in. And there we go, counter-attack. Bren carrier holding the line. Steward moving in. Sappers might want to get into that building. And there we go. Canister round. Doing quite a bit of damage. Cromwell now joining in. The Bren, though, is lost. But the mortar pit is still there as well. Stewart charging in for the... no, not Fatherland, but Commonwealth, I suppose. Oh dear. Stewart is immobilized, but the Cromwell is there. Mortar half-track is lost. And this light anti-tank half-track might also be lost, but not before the Stewart is knocked out of commission. Cromwell blasting away, but heading the wreck. And there we go, mortar half-track wreck is lost. That shall certainly not be recovered if he suddenly gets back. Tiger, what is this? Panzerjäger 83 T heads are joining in. Of course, it didn't really serve in Normandy. One could always imagine it's a Sturg, I suppose. The heads are only coming into the Western Front by the winter time, about there. November. On the Eastern Front, though, we did arrive actually about the same time as Normandy. But I'm going to have to pull out the Cromwell, as I can't really deal with the heads from the front. Captain keeping that Kettenkrad away. The Kettenkrad is actually on fire, and looks like the driver might be on as well. That's not good. Not good at all. Sappers hanging out here in a nice Sapper club house. British troops advancing, forcing the heads to slightly pull back, but it is actually decent against infantry, in particular British infantry. It works quite well against. Heads are slowly turning. Opening up, missing. Hurrah. Might be some Pians on the way there, though. Mortar rounds continuing to fall. Panzer attack continuing to fly. Heads rounds continuing also to fly. Captain forced into a retreat. Oh dear, it's time for the mid-game analysis, actually. Whoa, nice explosion right there. Of course, what is the situation currently? The Panzer Elite player is holding the center and western points right there, which is good. Of course, I am keeping the pressure up. I am causing him some losses. I mean, he lost the mortar half-track, and that anti-tank half-track was, of course, also very close in going up in fire. In fact, some of his infantry has been lost. In fact, 2 entire Panzer Grenadier teams. That's heavy. Well, I haven't really been suffering any major losses. I've lost the Bren carrier, and the Sappers, but that's about it. Plus, I have a mortar pit to keep him under bombardment. A Cromwell, and he has a headset to hold that at bay. And, of course, now I have Sappers as well. That's certainly going to prove dangerous, and if I was to get something more, of course I could keep up the pressure even further. Of course, we'll have to see. But the key, I rather feel, is currently the center of Semois. Whoever holds this probably wins the game very soon. Although, of course, if we can keep up the pressure here, that's going to be good. And, of course, if he can keep the pressure up on the edges, that's going to be helpful. In fact, he could probably sneak through here and take this victory point, which wouldn't be a bad idea at all. But let us return to the fight. Piat rounds flying. Cromwell moving in for flank. Oh dear, we have a artillery mine up. But instead it gets hit by the anti-tank half-track. Whoa, that's a bug, isn't it? I think that's a bug actually, since the anti-tank half-track continued to hit the artillery mine. As if though it was sort of in the way. That shouldn't be able to happen. Oh dear, those sappers took quite a beating. Heavy losses, in fact, for the British infantry. All spread about the cemetery. Probably going to be where they'll be buried. But the church is still up. A house of God and healing for the Panzergrenadiers. Gott mit uns, they might be feeling right now. Although for how long that might be, I don't know. The mortar round is certainly going to make that a bit of a harder feeling. There we go. Forcing them to spread out a bit. Always nice. We'll of course have to see what will happen. Infantry section moving in once more. Captain sneaking about right at the front line. What could he be up to, that sneaky captain? Some being lost to the mortar rounds. Clearly though. Hetzer with 6 kills so far. That's actually quite nice. And the captain gets out of there at the threat of mortar fire. Sappers almost ready once more. Panzer grenades getting bombarded. Ever slightly. It looks like something's going up here in the north. Some Panzer grenades with Gewehr 43s. And the Hetzer actually is taking fire from the mortar. That's not happiness for it. And looks like we'll see a clashing between forces rather unexpectedly from either side. Panzer grenades moving in from the south, then encountering British troops. And looks like the British troops will be getting the drop on the Panzer Grenadiers. Not a happy moment. And a 25-pounder gun going up as well. Rather feeling at this stage that what I probably need to get through here is some heavy artillery to really blast apart those German positions. And we are seeing a mortar half-track arriving on the field once more, ready to bombard away. Panzer grenades pulling out. Panzer grenades also getting hit by mortar rounds now. Really putting up the pressure. The river is also getting hit by mortar rounds, but it's going to be more likely to survive. Infantry half-track moving in, hoping to reinforce and act as a savior, but it might end up being lost. Has to be careful. Kettenkraut still sneaking about in the north, and another Hetzer being called in. Lots of tank destroyers slash assault guns, as in fact the Hetzer was back in the day envisioned as an assault gun like the Stug, but it was sort of changed from that, at least in designation, due to the simple fact of jurisdictional problems between the artillery branch and what Guderian could actually control about. And artillery hitting here heavily, and in fact I have gone for the Royal Canadian Artillery. And let's switch back there. In fact, lots of artillery absolutely saturating the central area. Hetzer 1 damaged. Mortar half-track out of control. Crashing into the cemetery. Anti-tank half-track lost as well. Absolutely devastating losses. Blowing everything to bits. The marketplace is lost. It is a ruin. And mortar rounds continue to land. Only 2 Hetzers are there, although that might soon change. The infantry half-track is also managed to survive for so far. Cromwell pulling out of there. Sappers moving in to repair. Mortar rounds laying down some covering fire, while Panzer grenades are securing the central victory point, which was briefly mine. Firefly on the way. One of the things that can really deal with the frontal armor of the Hetzer, which was nicely sloped. The Hetzer, besides being tiny and very nice looking, was of course also a very effective tank destroyer and assault gun, in fact. Plus it was also very much wide produced, which is in particular interesting considering that was only produced in about the last years of the war. That's of course also something to note. And now everybody moving in to repair this Hetzer. That's usually what you call artillery feed. And now the captain's moving in. What's going to do? Hopefully there will be the green smoke to show. Yes, there we go. What is that? That is Victor Target. And you might ask, well, what does Victor Target do? Well, it basically allows you to fire your artillery, your 25-pounder gun again, without having to worry about the cooldown, and I believe even range is taken out of the consideration. So in fact, by using the captain with your 25-pounder gun, you can get a lot more bang out of your 25-pounder gun. In fact, you can get to fight 2 times within a short amount of time. So there you go. And this position is certainly going to blast away very soon. Looks like those things might get away, but the church cannot move, and in fact it looks like it's getting hit. There we go, first gun round hitting. And I do believe mortar rounds in fact also hit the target as well, so there you go. In fact it coordinates all artillery onto one spot, so keep that in mind. If you have a lot of artillery, use the captain to vector a target, and that spot's going to be dead. Infantry half track is lost. Heads are taking on the Firefly, but will it survive? Probably not. More artillery in fact being called in, and the Hetzer's not looking good. We are seeing a Bergtiger in fact being called onto the field. The Bergtiger actually not perhaps being what it's meant to be, a recovery target, but might have been something else. What though, I do not know. Hetzer lost. Another round flying in on this position, having been exposed. The Bergtiger, of course, is quite vulnerable while repairing, but somehow manages to survive. Hetzer is lost. Oh dear, only the Bergtiger stands. Panzergrenadiers moving in from the north, opening up on the Firefly. British troops are providing cover, and so is the Cromwell. Bergtiger taking an awful lot of artillery fire. Panzergrenadiers getting blown to bits by the Cromwell. Charging forwards. Firefly is out of control, but there's no armor to contest it though. And the Panzergrenadiers are absolutely annihilated, dropping down a Panzer. That was absolutely horrific for Mr. Sweed. And the captain is looking very dashing, having just coordinated enough artillery on this spot to wake even the dead. So very cheeky shot, that fellow. And what is this? Another Hetzer. Yes. When two Hetzers fail, call in more Hetzer. More Hetzer. And we are seeing the Bergtiger pulling away. Sappers moving in. And now the Hetzer moves in for the kill, hoping to get the surprise. Although there are some British chaps with Panzer nearby, and of course the Sappers with Piets open up, damaging the Hetzer quite heavily. And this Telemine is actually still there, which is quite interesting considering all the artillery that has been sighted down in the area. Heads are taking even more hits, rear armor hits. The Piets just keep flying, of course. Piets fly in parabolic arcs, meaning of course they can fire over cover and over things that might block other weapons line of sight. There we go. More Piet rounds, although one Sapper is lost to the sneaky shot of the Hetzer. There we go. Panzer chaps moving in. Kettenkraut moving about, and the Bergtiger moving in to repair. Fresh Panzergrenadiers on the field.
Germans have penetrated the lines. They are trying to take a sector.
Armor moving in for a bit of fun. And not looking good for the Bergtiger. But while still heavily armor, though, of course it doesn't really have anything to respond back with. And artillery flying in on the Panzergrenadiers. Most unfortunate for them. And this Hetzer is probably not going to make it. Panzergrenadiers continue being cut down in the open. Cromwell command tank not looking happy. Who shall get the kill on the Hetzer? Shall it be the Cromwell? Or shall it be the Panzer-equipped infantry section troops? Bergtiger continuing to repair, and another Panzergrenadier is lost. Only the Hetzer. No, not even the Hetzer. Only the Bergtiger. Only the Bergtiger, which is now lit up by the flames of its friend, and it's blown up by a rear shot from the Panzer. And of course, Bergtigers take extra damage while repairing. Keep that in mind. And there we go. Game over. The 7th Armored Division took on the 10th SS Panzer Division and won. It's all aflame. It's wreckage as far as you can see. Smoke, dirt, and blood. Rawr. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed this fight. If you did, want to subscribe, tell your friends, and if you didn't, well, you can always send in a replay of your own. And of course, what can we learn from this? I mean, we saw some good tactics from the Panzer Elite commander. In fact, we saw infantry half-tracks, we saw Panzer-tracks, we saw mortar half-tracks. We didn't really see the sort of let's get armored cars, throw it all away, and then sort of stand confused when all is lost. No, he actually had a measured approach. He laid down Telemines. What was the problem, though? He got way too defensive. He sort of stuck around in the center of town, sort of figuring, well, I'll be safe right here. There's this church, and God is with us. Of course, what he hadn't figured, that was the artillery was with me. And of course, if you're seeing someone digging in and you conveniently happen to be the British, get artillery and blast the bastards out. Don't let them dig in. So of course, keep that in mind. That can actually make a difference. And he'd been much more aggressive. things probably wouldn't have been looking so well for me, in fact. So keep that in mind. Anyhow, so I hope you enjoyed this fight. If you did, and oh wait, I already said that, sorry. Cheers!